Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's time for a Star Trek rewatch with all the crew here, and we've got a new logo because we want to acknowledge all of our co-hosts. Apologies that we are late to the game, but we're fine now. It's John Suntress, it's Franco, it's Mitch, and thank you all for being here and being prepared. It's new computer, so took me a couple seconds to kind of get everything going, and then we had to get the Ensign Sulu over here ready with his headgear and stuff like that.
Uhura couldn't hear us.
No, he's in front. He's sitting where Geordi and Data sit.
Ah.
Oh yeah, I'm in the front. I'm driving the boat.
Exactly.
Or with the ship.
Hello, Gopher. Wait a minute. This isn't the Love Boat.
No, he was a purser. He wasn't an ensign.
He was a purser. That's true. Good point.
I'm Mr. Mitch.
Mr. Mitch.
Ensign Mitch. Are you wearing a red shirt? Because that's what I drew. I drew you with a red shirt.
There's a reason why in the logo we all have red shirts on. Absolutely.
Uh-oh.
Can go like that.
Days are numbered.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
That was Alan Parsons' song, Days Are Numbered. I remember that song.
Alan Parsons Project?
Yep.
Ooh, I like that. That was different every time.
Yeah, they were good.
Right?
They were good. They were better than Star Trek Lower Decks as we watch episode 2.
That's right.
So Envoy is the name of the new episode.
Just cut to the chase.
Absolutely.
You didn't like it?
I think it was better than the first episode. I think they still have a big problem with funny.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like it better, and we'll get into it and everything. But all right. So like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm still at like 6 out of 10.
I concur. I gave it 6 out of 10 again.
I'm higher than that because it's registering with me better than Orville.
Well, they're two different things, though. I wouldn't compare them.
Yeah, this one's much better.
Well, it is. By the way, yes, 2 episodes in, it's still the best Star Trek show that CBS has produced to date.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but again, when you start off that low, that's okay, I guess. I mean, when the expectations are low, but again, it's supposed to be a comedy, and I'm not feeling the funny. I'm sorry. I easy low hanging fruit. You got to cling on, so you're gonna and all that crap, and you're gonna point out that their names all start with a G and an apostrophe. What's up with that?
Is it me or is it Star Trek getting a little bit like I don't know, racist with their aliens?
Yeah, see, I was thinking that too when they showed him falling down drunk. I go, I don't know if we could say anything about that since we don't really know any Klingons personally, but if I was a Klingon, I'd be offended by this episode. Like, what the hell, man? Right?
Well, I mean they went through those tropes. They went through those tropes with every alien all the way up until the end, but then the Ferengi turned out to be not what you expected. So I like that.
All right. Well, John, how do you want to run the ship since I'm just flying it? Do you want to start from the opening and work your way back?
Sure. Go ahead. And Mitch, you got to catch up. Yeah, it's true because we haven't heard from you yet on the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, I had no power last week. There was dilithium crystals were missing in Connecticut, so we had no electricity. But
it was horrible.
I actually took notes.
John told the audience that you were on an away mission and possibly died.
I heard.
That was horrible.
I was listening to that, and I'm like, that's not really funny. But anyway, here's the deal. My opening thing is, if this is an episodic show and we're moving towards character development, which I assumed we were with the first episode when they showed us, and you guys got to help me. I don't know anybody's names. I have purple hair, cyborg guy, know-it-all girl, blue lady, and the Bajoran security guy.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with any of those names.
Exactly. Okay, so, yeah, because although I did learn Rutherford is cyborg guy.
Yeah.
I never know how to say Balmer is knucklehead white guy. Mariner is the captain's daughter. I'm sorry?
Is purple hair Balmer?
The
main guy.
Is a guy that's Balmer, yes.
Oh, okay.
And then the Orion the Orion scientist girl, I can't remember her name, but she's Orion scientist girl. But they did use Cyborg's name enough for me to know he's Rutherford.
Okay. Well, here's the deal. It's called Lower Decks. Shouldn't they all stay on the ship and work their way towards like a big deal, like an away mission? Like,
I think you're taking the title too literally, but that's
fine. I'm just saying. Anyway,
well, they're still doing menial jobs.
Well, transporting a ambassador to a place seemed like that's a pretty decent job. I mean, they used to do that in the old show.
I think you're nitpicking, but go ahead.
No, okay. So anyway, he's on this away mission. He's all excited about it. They put Miss Know-It-All with him. I don't know her name.
Mariner.
Okay. And so he's on this. So it's nothing to work up to. To me, they just blew it already because he's already doing the same work that the rest of the crew does. I did like the B story, which was the cat, Dr. Cat Lady, who looks like another character from a comic book that I couldn't recall watching it.
No, she's the same race as Lieutenant Emrys from the animated series. They had a cat lady in the.
That's why I was like, she looks something familiar. Okay.
Which is cool that they did that, by the way.
Yeah, I like that nod.
The B story with the guy switching jobs, like which department he wants to work, was much funnier.
Agreed.
I'm like, dude, I want to see that one because it just seemed quicker and the jokes were punchier and it I don't know, it just moved better.
I agree. No, that's where the funny stuff was. The only thing I would say real fast about Rutherford's story is I didn't buy how we got there in terms of Orion girl being like, hey, I thought we were going on a date. Oh, well, if I wasn't such an engineer, then I'd have time for a date. So I guess I'll switch jobs. Shut up.
Yeah,
fuck you.
yeah.
I'm here. I'm not to swear because it's my show. Fuck you. Okay. Seriously, seriously, from a story standpoint, that's just fucking lazy. How about instead, have somebody else go, you're never going to get anywhere being an engineer. You really ought to try, getting to command. And you're not going to be able to do that if you stick with engineering. You should really try other departments.
Yeah,
maybe I should. All right, fine. I should, but I like being an engineer. Something like that.
Not to bring your own words up to you and throw them in your face, but I think you're reading too much into it.
You think I'm nitpicking? I think it's just that's fair. I mean, again, I don't think they're doing. I think the jobs they do on the ship are jobs on the ship. I don't think there's anything about that, but I do think that it was just lazy writing that got them to, okay, he's going to try other departments. And I thought that was all funny once he was doing all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is the tone of the show still has a problem with me. Are we going for all out comedy or are we going to some seriousness and sentimentality? Because I will jump ahead at the very end after he's down at tent forward laughing about how she didn't even know a Ferengi. Ha ha ha.
Right.
And all making fun. So suddenly Miss Know-It-All goes back to her quarters and calls the Ferengi up and says, hey, thanks for doing that for me. So I'm like, wait, she's a nice person? We're supposed to like her now? Because I thought she was being a kind of a jackass to the guy the whole show.
No.
But now she's got this redemption at the end. Like she was just trying to help him. I'm like, help him what? By embarrassing him in front of everybody? So that it's uneven. Pick one. You can't be the bad guy and the good guy.
I don't know. I think The Simpsons has shown you could be crazy funny and sentimental. So I will again disagree as far as you don't need to pick one door. You can do both. Do you execute both well is the question, and that's where they kind of lose me. I don't understand why each character can't be more rounded and not be this like that. Mariner doesn't always have to be the smartest person in the room and the solution to everything.
Yeah,
and the guy is too freaked out about stuff. Although Morty's always freaked out on Rick and Morty. I don't know.
You said that last week. I don't know why. I don't try to compare the two shows because I was thinking of you when they were doing a scene. I go, oh, it's like Rick and Morty, but I'm like, okay, but I'm not watching Rick and Morty. I'm watching the
Well, but
Star
I'm saying that
Yeah.
the guy is obviously that is where his comedy has come from.
He's come from, yeah.
So and you can't help but compare, just in the way you couldn't help but compare Futurama to The Simpsons early on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious how when you guys first started watching Discovery or
Right.
Picard,
Right.
how many episodes in did you give it, like to see where it would find its legs or whatever?
Mitch, you want to answer first?
Picard, I gave Picard every chance in the world from the get-go. I had problems with each episode, but because I loved the character so much, I was willing to look away at a lot of stuff. But Discovery, since I had no affiliation or knowledge of any of those characters, it was a struggle. It really was, because I was kind of ticked off by the episode 2, but I stuck with it for the whole season because thinking it was going to get better. But in my mind, it never did. It just perpetuated the same kind of BS for the whole season. So.
See, I liked the first. I mean, I really thought both the first episode of Picard and the pilot for Discovery, for the most part, I liked both of them. Even Discovery, I think, was a good pilot.
Yeah.
And Picard, I think the first episode was fine for what they gave us, but then as it progressed, it disappointed me. This is a different show in terms of its problem of the week. I think they did introduce their characters, and I understood that with the pilot. My biggest problem with this show is it pretends to be funny, but it's not. Yeah. It's a lot of attitude, but attitude is only a delivery system to deliver a joke. You still need a fucking joke.
I disagree. I think there were some funny moments in it. I think they're trying to set up their.
Yeah, I had 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think they're trying to set up, like, that little thing where she tried to stuff it in the pod at the beginning.
Yeah,
that was funny.
That was funny, and then that was also set up because if it went into the mom's chest, the captain of the ship, and I thought her line was funny, where she's like, "What do you think of it's warp time?" Like trying to come up with her catchphrase. I thought that was funny.
I thought that was going to go on for the rest of the show. I was surprised they didn't go back to that. I'm waiting for the whole thing going.
But what I'm saying is I think they're setting up for future episodes.
Maybe
I didn't.
As far as the energy thing being inside the captain,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't think that's coming.
Maybe that didn't. That the only thing that bothered me was looking for a catchphrase again. Where's the I didn't think the catchphrase was that good, but I
think that was the point, because it's like, make it so, like it's warp time. I thought that was funny.
How is it's warp time funny?
It's not, which is what makes it funny.
Okay.
Here's the thing too.
Glad you're not writing my comedy for me, there, buddy Sorrell.
Back me up, any one person who's watching, maybe.
No.
Well, actually, Canadian Yoko's Blaine Dollar. I gave the pilot 7 out of 5 out of 10. I think this was 8 out of 10. Same comedic sensibilities, which may or may not work for any particular individual, as with any comedy. But the episode flowed far better from last week. It went from bits that were haphazardly glued together to a smoothly flowing series of events.
Yeah, I agree.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with Wayne. I think they overused the Star Trek references to force some of the jokes. Yeah, just because we recognize something, it still needs to be funny.
Right.
That it's not a joke in itself. That, hey, boy, all the Klingons have G's and apostrophes on their names. It's like, all right.
But again, I think we're watching it from an old fart sensibility point of view, because
how is that funny for a new? Well, I guess it is.
Again, I was online the other day, and I saw one of my former students. She graduated maybe about a year or so ago, and she was talking about how had no one told her about Discovery, how good it was, and she binged through the whole thing, and she loved it. And she goes, "I can't wait for the new season." Again, we're watching it with an eye of, we hate this show. It's not Star Trek to us, but it could be to the new generation. I don't know if this is meant for us. I think there's enough nods for us that I like it, and it could be for me, but not you old farts.
I said to John the other day when I was talking to him that I said, if my 20-year-old sons watch this with no knowledge of Star Trek, because they never really watched Star Trek, they don't get all these reference jokes. It's just like, what? It's like, oh, look, Ferengi's doing this and this and that. So I don't think they're really trying to attract a new audience. They made this for a fan base that is knowledgeable about all. Why else would you write these in jokes?
Well, and also
for people like us that do watch it.
Why?
But we're not enjoying this. We just said we're like kind of rolling our eyes, going, "Huh, yeah."
Well, no,
all I know is
enjoying it.
They made new Star Trek shows.
I said I like 5 or 6
for years, and were able to satisfy both audiences for the most part. I mean, I think initially there was that growing pains with Next Generation in that first season.
Yeah.
But I think subsequent shows and everything, I think they were doing Star Trek, and this the Star Trek they do are all member berries, as South Park would say.
Yeah. Yep.
And but I don't know. Again, the stuff that was funny, I think Rutherford trying to do stuff. I loved basically the Kobayashi Maru, him in the holodeck with the captain scenarios.
See, that was funny.
That was funny.
See,
I thought that was very funny.
And all the 5 or 6 jokes I liked, I marked down. Klingon gag, Andorian gag, Ferengi gag. Again, they're all based on my knowledge of Star Trek. Is why I found them funny. So it's not
well, but even the
universal
when he ejected all the kids from the ship and out into space, and number one guy goes, well, we'll just we'll do it again, we'll run it again, but with more kids.
Yeah,
I thought that was funny. And you don't have to be a Star Trek guy or know Star Trek lore to know any of that stuff.
Well, they said the death toll was 105%, which was like more than 100%.
Right.
That would be funny anywhere. Whether it's a Superstore or any other comedy show. Sure. Like, oh, it's a play on the fact that you can't have more than 100%. So, that's how bad it was. So, yeah.
Right, but now are you making math majors feel bad? Because
am I making math majors feel bad?
No, it was very Kobayashi.
You know what? It must be hard to write for this show, knowing that you have a fan base that's out there that's just waiting. Like
man, I got to tell you, I saw him on Will Wheaton's show, The Ready Room.
Will Wheaton,
yes, and Mike McMahon, and he explains the show a lot better than they execute the show.
Really?
And also what I found interesting, I don't know if you guys knew this about him. He one of the ways he got the job was he was on Twitter doing a fictitious 7th or 8th season of Next Generation. And I've seen people do that with Seinfeld and a few other shows on Twitter where they just throw premises out there. And that's kind of how he got the meeting. I'm sorry?
That got him the job
That got him the meeting. Then they talked about it, and then they liked what his ideas, and that got him the job. And also the fact, again, that he was, a writer on Rick and Morty.
Oh, okay.
So he had a pedigree before he got the gig.
All right. So there's this Joe fan who got picked out of random. Like, that works. I'm going to start working on something right now. So.
Hey, man.
The Janeway maneuver. Yeah, I did pick that up
it was cute. And again,
reference.
Wayne, I think the comic sensibilities are far more aligned with the comedy that my high school students respond to than my personal sensibilities. I think the comedy necessarily is not for us little farts, but I'm happy to stick around for the comedy. That's funny, Wayne, because I would say, yes, I understand. I would say that it reminded me of watching high school and junior high skits in terms of, hey, we're talking really fast. And, so it's funny, right?
Yeah.
No. Okay. And again, if that means comedy's getting dumbed down, I'll be an old fart.
It does seem like the show is a collection of skits. I think of that every time. Like, I'm watching a Saturday Night Live episode where they're doing those little jokes. They string it together.
Well, like I said, it's regarding how Rutherford got to the idea of trying other departments. It's like, oh, I need to keep this date, so I'm going to have to do this. It's like, that doesn't make story sense. It's like you could have, again, I think they could have gotten there in a less clumsy, like, it doesn't matter. We're going to get there. Just roll with us. And it's like, no, fuck you. You're doing a television show. Sorry.
Do you notice the opening when they show the ship like flying through and it hits an asteroid and then it does some goofy stuff? It's kind of like, hey, this is going to be funny, because even in the opening, we show how stupid they are because they crash into stuff. It's like, get it? It's supposed to be. I think they're telegraphing, like they're hitting us over the head with laugh, idiots. It's too much dialogue, too fast. See, that's what I told you, John, the other day. I said, my God, this show, I thought I had it on the wrong speed. It was going so fast, and you told me that old comedy.
Yeah, but if
it's not funny, just say it louder and faster, and that'll make it funny. So.
Well, and that's kind of like them knowing that the material sucks. That was Sid Caesar saying that about the live TV in the 50s. And again, it's like, or you go to see an improv group that doesn't quite have the premise right. So they hey, how about this? How about this?
Or
and it's like,
are they doing it on purpose so that there's rewatchability? So you go
back and miss the joke.
You go back.
I don't think you rewatchability. Sorry,
see,
I don't think so.
I watched
nice
Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is another animated show that's very fast with the humor, and I'll rewatch that because I'm laughing so much the first time. I'm missing some of the jokes, so I go back and make sure I caught all the jokes. This one, I don't have any desire to go back to. In fact, if I didn't have to do this today with you guys, I don't think I would have rushed to watch it this morning. I was like, oh, geez, Star Trek's on today. And I have a
much funnier show. I'm glad you bring that up because it is.
Because every time there's Picard, I was looking forward to Picard. Whether I hated it or not, I couldn't wait for 3 a.m. Eastern time for it to drop. And the same thing with the other shows. But this, I'm kind of like, okay.
Well,
and it's only 20 minutes.
I still like this better than the other two shows.
Than Picard?
Yes, than Picard and Discovery. Absolutely.
Because Picard, I kept hoping every week it was going to get better. Every week I had this is going to be the one that's going to be fucking great.
Well, and again, Mariner does kind of bug me being such a smug know-it-all.
What do they call Mary Sue's? Is that what they call the character?
Well, yeah, and you be careful because certainly you might offend a lot of women.
I don't know. I just is that the term that they?
It is a term, and I wouldn't necessarily characterize her as a Mary Sue because she's part of the whole idea of the Mary Sue was almost like a character coming out of nowhere,
right?
Oh,
and this, I mean, that's what,
and a Mary Sue could be male or female. It's just a plot. It's just a plot
I
point.
hear that always mentioned for that Rey character in the new Star Wars characters. The new Star Wars
she's
series.
a new character that they threw in with a bunch of old characters,
right?
So some do call her a Mary Sue because
that's
of
what
that.
I was like, is that the term they use now for the
but
that knows everything? So,
but they are. Yeah, I don't know. There is a slight difference.
Okay.
But that said, I don't know. Oh, it's funny. Wayne says a better term would be a Will Wheaton because that was
exactly. There you go.
That was the complaint about Wesley in Next Generation, that the child solved everything.
Every time they had a problem, Wesley knew how to get out of it. I'm like, really? That kid? Come on.
Well, he was the star of the show, so I don't know why they didn't make him the star of the show.
No, we knew, John. We knew what you didn't mean us. It's okay. And Blaine says, I think a better way for rewatchability is to hide Easter eggs animated in the background. Yeah.
Something on the view screen, something going on in the corridor in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, the way the Simpsons used to do that.
Right.
Like I remember the episode where Homer was pronounced insane and he's in the asylum.
Yeah.
And he saw the phone and the speed dial had all the talk shows. So then if somebody's crazy wants to be booked on a talk show, it's there. and ski reservations and stuff. It's like, that's funny. That's funny.
That's
funny. Yeah.
Also, the title sequence with the asteroid hit them, getting pulled into a rotating black hole, which had an accretion disk around it, which I really appreciate. More focus on the science part of science fiction than Picard Discovery. I agree with that. The spore drive sends me up the wall. I don't care if some forestry major came up with it. It's bad physics. I agree with all of that. Yes. No, the title sequence is hilarious on Lower Decks. I love the homages. I think, and again, I love the design of the show. I think it looks like Star Trek. That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
So, but what are you and I waiting for John to happen that we suddenly turn around and we're like Franco and we love it?
Well, I think again, they're getting there. I think this, like you said, it was a more cohesive story.
Slower a little bit.
Yeah, well, it all made sense. I mean, it all, as opposed to just random scenes kind of thrown together like last week.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't lump me into the love it. I mean, I like it a lot. It's got to do more for me to love it, but I like it a lot. I like the story elements of it. I think there's funny things, like when he was put into the simulation with the cyborgs and his cybernetic guy. He took them all out, and the Bajoran guy was like, "Egads, I made this simulation to show people how they can get better in defeat. You killed them all. That was great. I thought that was funny.
The secondary story was really well done. I like that one. I was like, let's go back to that guy.
Well, and they did. I mean, there's going to be, it looks like every week, an A and B story, and that's pretty much what Mike McMahon said as well. That was the plan. No, I thought that was fine. and and even security guy I think was decent.
Yeah,
and, and I do like how Rutherford just kind of backed into an aptitude of being so good at security and things like that. So that was cool.
But
I'm
I mean, I
assuming
think
he's
the
a
subtle.
Bajoran.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I thought the funny was the funny things were kind of subtle at times too. When the security guy, he goes, "Are you telling me you want to switch jobs?"
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're real happy for you. And then the security guy's like, "Are you telling me you don't want to be security?" Hey, it's great knowing what you. I thought that was Star Trek-y. It's like instead of getting mad at the guy, hey, you're trying to find your way through here. Yeah.
Positive reinforcement. Yeah, that's the future. Yeah.
No, there was a little there, but again, the operative word is a little there. I liked the Predator alien hot chick that turned out that she wanted to lay eggs in his throat, stuff like that.
Or it wasn't
Right.
Risa, but it looked like Risa. Yeah, that statue thing that was there in the fountain. Again, calling back to episodes that we would know, like, oh, that's this thing that Picard had that time on that shore leave he went on.
Well, when Mariner knows the Klingon that they're transporting, and the song they sing, I'm pretty sure that's the song that Worf and that older Klingon sing in
General Martok.
No, let me talk, maybe Mitch, and you'll hear what I'm talking about.
What old Klingon?
Shh. The first episode with Worf in Deep Space Nine, The Way of the Warrior, there's an older Klingon that knows that the Klingons are planning a battle, and Worf gets him drunk. And he's like, your father and I used to sing that song. And yes, have I told you that how your father saved our people? Many times. Yes, it's a good story. Yeah, it's a really good story. Okay.
Oh,
great.
was that Murtaugh?
It was. he's messing with you. So anyway, that's the reference. No, later, of course, Worf and Martok. But no, this is specifically Way of the Warrior. And
because he had the patch on his eye. That's why I was thinking of him. The guy had the patch. That's why I thought it was General Martok. You see a Klingon with an eye patch, you go.
Well, it's kind of like the same thing that they all have G's and apostrophes on their names.
Yeah, didn't Kang have one too? Come on.
Yeah, but that was on Star Trek Undiscovered Country, which was about 70 years. They mentioned Kittimer today. Again, we dropped references everywhere. Yep. We should have a count every week. How many times they reference other stuff? Because I bet it's in the double digits easily. I bet it's like 15.
It wasn't Martok on Lower Decks. It was some whatever name. So, no.
We don't know. Somebody get their iPhone out, look it up.
I think it was Wayne.
Okay, that he said. And Michael, what did Michael say here? Too much focus on character moments, rapid fire dialogue, no real plot to speak of. I'm going from episode 1. It's cool with me. Not every Trek will be my thing. And again, Michael, I understand, and you're not wrong, but I guess I don't know. I really liked every Trek as they were coming to me from, again, first season, Next Generation, little tepid. But by the second season, I liked it better. And then by the third season, I loved it. But every, like, Deep Space Nine and Voyager, I loved from day one. Enterprise was interesting enough to me that I was willing to stay with it. But I did find as the season went on, it's like, okay, God, first of all, they kept getting boarded all the time. Like other aliens were
lock the back door, will you?
Exactly, and
well, they were new to space, so
yeah.
Well, that's true. So,
hey, would this show be better if it was set on the Enterprise and that the people they referred to were the ones that you knew, like Worf was up there? I know probably they couldn't get the rights, or maybe the actors didn't want to do the voices, but if we got that out of the way, would it be easier to accept these new characters that are in the lower decks? Because every time you watch I don't know about you, but when I see the security guy, I'm thinking, oh, that's kind of like the Worf character. Oh, that's kind of like the Riker guy. Oh, she's kind of like the Picard. And I just keep constantly trying to find.
Well, I think that's done on purpose. Reference. Yeah, I think that's done on purpose. But
no, but would it make the show easier to swallow if it was the lower deck crew aboard?
Well, then they'd be stuck into continuity.
They kind of are, aren't they?
And what they have to do. Not really, because they can all develop their own storylines.
Oh, you're saying because we know what's going to happen to the Enterprise.
Right.
We know, okay, I'll give you that part. All right. So it's not a prequel type of thing.
I think.
No, I'm leaning towards Franco's explanation more. So it looks enough like Next Generation. That's fine. and I think that's a good move to make it look like Star Trek because you're doing a parody. You know, I mean, it's like old reference. Sorry, Stan Freberg, History of the United States, when he did that, and it was the Revolutionary War, and the jokes were, I mean, it was all audio, but it made you feel like you really were like looking at one of those history books, and just funny stuff was coming out of George Washington, or making fun of the way they spell S's, how they look like F's without the cross, and it's like, what's the pursuit of happiness? It's like, no, that's the pursuit. Well, why did you put an S there? Oh, that's a little more classier, you know, stuff like that. You know, I don't know. Here, Mike, ladies and gentlemen, Skokie Spidey joining us. Hi, fellas. Well, hello again. I hear that before he did the Orville, Seth MacFarlane approached the Trek powers that be with his take on a humorous Trek show, but they turned him down. Do you guys know whether or not there's any truth to that? There is. Yeah. I feel like Seth would have been a good fit to lead an animation or live action show under the Trek umbrella, and they call it the Orville.
Yeah. I'm glad they don't, because I think I would have disliked the Trek version of Orville, because I don't like Orville.
I like Orville.
I understand.
Ensign Bomber.
Ensign Bomber is purple hair incompetent perfectionist. Ensign Mariner is super capable slacker, daughter of captain. Ensign Tendi is the Orion medical ensign.
Tendi, okay.
Right. And Ensign Rutherford is cyborg guy. Yes, indeed.
There you go. That now I know. Now I can make a note.
I didn't notice any purple hair, but I thought I wasn't sure if you were talking about the Orion lady.
No, the main guy. I'm watching it. Oh, okay, purple hair. Because I think of that character on Futurama that has the Cyclops eye and the purple hair. That's why I'm always like, oh, it's
Leela.
There you go. You know what's so funny? Getting together every week and trying to defend this show and coming up with reasons why we watch it instead of sitting around actually talking about the things we like. Wouldn't it be something if we actually had a show that we all liked and it came on every week and we sat there and gushed like little kids for an hour about how great that episode was and we can't wait for the next one instead of making excuses for why we didn't like this episode?
I think our hearts. First of all, Franco obviously likes it more than you and I do.
He does, yeah.
And secondly, you and I, Mitch, are the same way in terms of, well, maybe this week I'll like it more.
Hey, I buy comic books every week thinking that I'm going to recapture the enjoyment I had when I was 8 years old. It doesn't happen, but I've been doing it for 40-something years. So, because a friend of mine told me that. He's like, why do you keep buying these books? They suck.
I keep buying books every week in hopes that I'm actually going to sit and read them.
Oh, there's that too. They stack up. But no, I think it's because we love Star Trek, and John loves Star Trek more than anybody I know. And you want to love it so much that they could put the worst piece of shit together on there, and you're going to say, fuck it. It says Star Trek. I'll watch the fuck out of it.
As I've said,
even though
I want to see the 1960s versions of us sitting in someone's garage talking about the original series Star Trek when they premiered on TV. Did you see Star Trek last night? Kirk, I hate Kirk.
It's no Lost in Space. You see
that Forbidden Planet?
Spot. Yeah, no Forbidden Planet, exactly.
It's funny as Blaine points out. Yes, Paramount steals someone's idea and rebranded it as Star Trek. That would never happen. Just ask Straczynski.
Oh,
yeah, because that. You know, there's no official document, but according to Straczynski, and I don't doubt him. I mean, the comparisons to Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine are really
I've heard
from the general brushstrokes. Yeah, it's like, that's really not cool, Paramount, what you did. And apparently there were executives who were like, that happened to Straczynski. So,
oops,
that's not good, but it is what it is. It happened, and I'm pleased to say that Deep Space Nine became its own thing.
Yeah.
And very different from Babylon 5. And I do love both shows.
Well, here's one for you. Is there other animated shows? I'll ask Franco. What other animated comedies do you like?
Animated comedies?
And like Simpsons.
I like Rick and Morty. I like the Harley Quinn show.
Yeah.
I like Family Guy, but that's hit or miss sometimes. Yeah. You know, there's some bad episodes. The Simpsons, the earlier ones, I like. I don't know what else.
No, but I'm saying, how long did you give those a chance before you started to like them? Because I hate early Simpsons. When they were on the
I tell you the truth,
I couldn't stand the animation, and that turned me off from watching it because it was so to watch.
Yeah, well, the Harley Quinn show, I'll tell you, I went into that disliking the idea a lot. You know, when they announced it, I'm like, why? You know, and then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch. I let it build up. I didn't watch it right away.
Yeah.
And then I watched the entire first season. I loved it. I thought it was great. It won me over. The first episode, I was kind of like, I think I even spoke to you about it, John. I watched the first episode and I was like, all right, I'll give it a couple more shows and see. But then I loved it. I got what they were doing. I understood it. This one just kind of struck me as like, I get what they're trying to do. It's not locked into, Picard or Discovery. It's in the Next Generation timeline. I'm like, all right, let's see what they do with it. I think there's enough subtle humor there that, but what really surprised me with this was the one and done story, and you have the A and B storyline, and it's kind of resolved, and you go on to the next one. I kind of like that. Sometimes you get involved with Discovery and you're like, oh my God, I got to watch another episode, and they're still not going to answer any questions type thing. This one, I kind of like what they're doing. Maybe that's why I like it more than you guys. Cause I'm like, oh, I don't have to be that vested into this show to, from week to week to find out, am I going to get any answers out of this? Bob's Burgers. I love Bob's Burgers. Go ahead.
Well, just like Mitch said, the design of Bob's Burgers has always turned me off. I like the writing, but the design really just bugs me. I can't explain. It's so funny that our buddy Tad is one of the animators on Bob's Burgers.
I just like the design as well, and it took me. I think I was in fourth or fifth season before I started watching it, and I had heard good things about it. And I'm like, all right, I'll watch it. It took me a few episodes to get into it, but that is one of the funniest episodes. I think is the Halloween one where they're trying to scare each other, if I'm remembering correctly. Right. It's just really subtly funny. The characters are there, and I'm kind of hoping that this turns into something like that, where you get all the character development after a few shows, and then things become funnier. Hopefully.
Yeah. Like it's a Seinfeld universe. They build the little world and all the like there's George, there's Newman, and every week you can follow it. So maybe
that's a great analogy. The first season of Seinfeld.
Yeah, when Seinfeld first started, I hated it, and my dad would love it. And then now it's on. Oh yeah, because you instantly know all the characters. Right. Whatever situation they put them in, you're fine with it because you understand how they're going to behave. Maybe that's it. Maybe if this was 8 episodes all streaming at one time, I can watch them in a row, and then I go, oh, all right, now I get it. There is some kind of set characters there.
I like what Blaine says here. If we had the Picard maneuver and the Janeway maneuver, I want to see the Barclay maneuver where they run away from danger, only to return to a genuinely clever engineering solution that disabled the energy weapons. Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's another one, too. John's a huge Mel Brooks fan, and maybe it's the type of humor. Maybe this is not Spaceballs. Maybe, like you keep saying, Rick and Morty, which I don't watch, so I'm always like, I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't watch it. So I'm waiting for Young Frankenstein, MASH, Seinfeld type of jokes, or Curb Your Enthusiasm, and this is something that's I don't know what Rick and Morty is. Is that more of a adolescent, high school, young kids humor show?
You would think that, but it's kind of deep.
My son
it's kind of deep.
Yeah. No, they love it. They're like late teens, early 20s. They love Rick and Morty. So I'm like, oh, maybe it's a generational thing. Works on one because
Wayne makes a good point. Rick and Morty formula works because they're one and done. There are callbacks to previous episodes, but not so many to force a continuity on you. Yeah, and again, like Mariner is kind of similar to Rick in terms of being a free spirit. Rick is the old man scientist, but they let him be drunk and he's out of control. And Mariner is a little more, hey, I'm fun living, but I'm also excellent at what I do. Rick is like the smartest guy in the room and is but is more annoyed by the fact that everyone else is such a bummer and stupid.
Yeah. And how many years has that show been on?
They just had their 4th season, but they've been around for 5 or 6 years.
You stuck with it from episode 1, or
I came into it late. I came into it like second season or something like that.
Did it develop similar to Lower Decks? Was there just like you just had to give it time before you got up and running?
No, I kind of feel like really even the first episode.
Oh, really? So from the get-go, it was good. You were like, oh, I got no problem.
Well, and again, that's like their jokes are smarter. There was like a whole episode about how Morty had to make a science project for class, and he wanted to do all of the planets in the solar system. And his father, who's a knucklehead, wanted to help him, and he had 9, including Pluto.
Right.
And Morty's like, well, Dad, Pluto's not a planet. Well, of course it's a planet. It's always been a planet.
Right.
And then all of a sudden there were aliens from Pluto who wanted to hail Morty's dad because that, he's a believer in Pluto should be a planet. Right. And again, that's why I'm even smiling talking about it.
No, it sounds funny to hear that because I'm like, oh, now that I get, like, oh, Pluto's mad, they're not a planet, and they're there. This, if you told me that gaseous thing, that little thing in the beginning, I'm like, that's like that cloud from the old show that sucked the salt out, or whatever the hell. I thought that was going to be the whole show, that they had this little glowing ball thing floating around the or the Cerritos or whatever it's called. Cerritos. Which I always think Doritos. I'm like,
so do I, man. It sounds like
is there a reason why it's
called nacho cheese Cerritos? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm like, is this named after some famous character that I'm just not getting? But again, that was an opening teaser that had nothing to do with the rest. But now you're saying it might come into play.
I'm thinking if I'm writing the show, if the directive is to kind of like lace in, because like the last comment about Rick and Morty not holding the continuity,
right?
I think it's going to be weaved in to a future storyline.
Maybe. Maybe. I
mean, she had an interaction with it, and then it went to her mom. So, I'm thinking that's what it's going to play off of.
No, I think you're right. There could be seeds there.
By the way, here's another thing. When you watch it on your CBS, I don't know about you, but I have my commercial breaks that come up. Do you have it with commercials?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm watching it, and then it stops, and then it says, your show will return in 130 seconds. And you're like, tapping the fingers, waiting for it to come back on, and then it comes back, and for some reason it freezes on the scene just before it went to commercial, and that's how it opens again on mine, and then it goes into the thing. So I'm always like, what the hell was that? So it takes you out of the
I think you just need to get new internet.
No, that's how it's on CBS All Access on Amazon Prime.
It kind of was screwing up. It was kind of screwing up during Picard, where it would black out where you'd think a commercial should start playing, and then they'd show the first 10 seconds of the next scene and interrupt it. Now that happened on Picard. It's not happening on Lower Decks for me.
Oh, it's happening on my end because I'm like, that kind of ruins the
I don't know.
It's like, what the hell's that? And then commercial for whatever. And then back
there's a lot of free streaming that uses commercials, and some of them really are just literally like, okay, 10 seconds have gone on, or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Whether you're in the middle of a sentence or not, we're stopping this and we're playing commercials.
Oh, all right.
But again, in those cases, it's free. I know we're paying for CBS.
Yeah.
In more ways than one. But
the other thing I noticed, I don't think the humor is as adult as I thought it was going to be on this show. Because, like you said, Harley Quinn, that's definitely an R-rated show. It's not something that's going to be on Family Hour or Prime Time, whatever they have anymore. But this thing here, I thought, because they dropped the F-bomb on Picard every other sick.
Yes.
Fuck this, fuck that. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be raunchy. Not really. And
I'm not surprised.
They did show naked men butts in the first episode.
What's that? Say it again.
They did show naked men butts.
Yeah, but it was pretty PG-13.
Yeah.
And I think knowing that it's an animated series, they wanted to make it more all ages than say Picard. I think is stupid. Star Trek's always been for everyone. I don't like the way that Admiral F-bomb was just dropping them left and right. I think that was just really stupid. And the same thing with Tilly on Discovery. It's like there was no point of saying, this is fucking amazing. Oh, fuck you.
Well, do you think, because it's animation, do you think they might have done another voice track without the F-bombs or something like that as well for if they ever do something with it?
Well, maybe. So you think there might be a more R-rated version of Lower Decks?
No, actually more G-rated version. Yeah, PG or G-rated.
I don't know.
In case they sell it somewhere else. I don't know.
But I mean, they haven't really sworn. They haven't sworn on Lower Decks.
No.
They swore on Picard, but they swore on Discovery.
There were a couple of F-bombs, weren't there, on Lower Decks?
I don't think so. No.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
That's why I was thinking, why don't you go for the more rated R stuff.
Well, and all right, when saying bitches, that they said bitches.
Oh, well, that,
and maybe they'll bleep that. Well, I do know that Harley Quinn was bleeped on Sci-Fi Channel because it was an over-the-air channel versus being on DC Universe, and you know.
Well, there's still some questionable stuff on that, even though it's on Sci-Fi. Because I was like, wow, they could say this nowadays on TV. I'm always amazed by that when I'm watching broadcast TV like CBS, and they'll say shit. I'm like, they could say that now on TV. It's like, wait, really?
They could always do it. They just chose not to.
No, I don't know about that. Wikipedia says.
See, if you're going to start reading, you should say it out loud because we're also doing this for audio.
I thought you were doing it too. It says,
Wikipedia says the ship was named after the city of Cerritos, California, which is where they filmed Wayne's World, Coneheads. She's all that and a lot more. Okay.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but where do they make Doritos in California?
In Jay Leno's pants.
Bombs are bleeped on Lower Decks, like when the blonde woman found the drunk Klingon at the end here.
See? There you go. I thought I see my imagination filled it in.
Oh, you filled it in. Yeah, no, I didn't catch a bleep on that at all. But
yeah, because she Klingon grabbed her leg and she goes, "What the bleep?" Yeah.
You could watch older Treks with kids. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that again. I fell in love with Star Trek at 4. Yeah. I did not need a Star Trek for kids. Again, I just feel like the people that are in control, and this isn't Mike McMahon because I think he's succeeding in spite of his bosses. But I think Alec Kurtzman and JJ, when it came to the movies, just had the wrong idea about Star Trek from day one, where it's like, we have to make this appeal to everyone.
Yeah.
And that, well, when I was a kid, I didn't get Star Trek. I don't think I was an exceptional kid in any way. I was 4 and 5 years old, and I thought Star Trek was amazing. And then as I got older, I appreciated the complexity of the stories and the morality plays they were saying. And then certainly by the next generation, I was in college, and I think they were asking good science questions as well as interesting dramatic questions. Whereas most of Discovery and Picard, the science makes no sense. They don't even try. That stupid machine that fixes Crystal Ball's ship at the end of Picard, you know, that's like a sonic screwdriver times 10. Just think about it and it'll be fixed. What? And Discovery as well, like somebody said about the spore drive and everything. It's fuck you. That's not science. It's bullshit. I'm sorry.
There was that one comment that somebody put in there where he said he asked his girlfriend, or she said, who's the audience for this? Like I said, I assume it's for this Trek fan base. I don't think that somebody from outside of Star Trek is going to. My wife is not going to watch this show. She's never into Star Trek. She's not going to go, oh, I'm going to sit down and watch this today. I don't think that's going to happen. So,
I don't know, man. John, I was replying to Scoot when he said, hi, Scary Terry. Yes, Scary. Yes, I know. Yeah, I knew that. That's fine. Thank you, Wayne.
Oh.
Magical Science, says Mike Cooper. Yes, indeed. And Blaine says, I said it before and I'll say it again. J.J. Abrams made Star Trek as a Star Wars movie with Star Trek characters. It's a very good Star Wars movie, but it's still more Star Wars than Star Trek. A lot of people said
that's true. Yeah. I agree with that.
And also, point of contention, it's pronounced J.J.
It's one word.
I was so like, okay, whatever. Didn't even bother to watch the tease for next week's Lower Decks. I got to be honest. And again, I'll watch it. And then seriously, we're, strap in, boyos, because we got like half a year of new Star Trek for like, the next 20 weeks or so, where there's going to be a new episode. Like they're literally, Mitch, if you don't know, they're going to roll right into.
Yeah, you Discovery. Told me that, but there's only like 8 of these things, right?
I think there's 10 because it's 23 weeks altogether.
I think what Mitch is saying is that he's out after the 10. He's not going to get back to Discovery.
No. I want Discovery. At least that's a longer thing, but.
He went to the trouble of the green screen and having the bridge behind him.
I'm getting jettisoned. I don't know what happened. I was part of the Beatles, and next thing you know, I'm with the fucking Pete Best of Lower Decks here.
I got Grandma's like quilt in the background, and I like
Grandma's true. You should just put like a dead body in the back just to see if anybody's paying attention.
What is your shirt, Mitch? Hold on a second. I'm going to single
my buddy Stan. It's
okay.
Green screen. Stan Lee as if he was Jesus himself.
Oh, of course. Now, it's funny. I had Wade on live last night.
I know you did, yeah.
And he was talking. Well, he lost Mitch here he lost Chip Zdarsky's Harvey Award, and for a while because he accepted for him that one year at Baltimore, and it was traveling around, and he said like you see a garden gnome traveling and like a garden gnome at the Eiffel Tower, and it's the same one at the Leaning Tower of Pisa or whatever. Yeah. And we years ago on the Oh Yeah podcast, we're talking about how school kids would send around Flat Stanley,
right?
And that was the name of him. And we're like, we should do Flat Stan Lee for his centennial
trademark.
So yes, indeed. Oh no, we already have. Patent pending. No, I think. And then I suggested that Danny Fingeroff has to be brought in the circle because he's much more organized than me or Mark Wade or us are and anything. So I'm like, yeah, we got to do that. And yeah, Mark's like, that's a very good idea.
Oh, so, he actually brought it up to.
He loved it. That made me proud. And then what comic book thing were we talking? Oh, well, I was just telling him about and good idea to promote it this weekend, of course. Mitch, I'm so sorry, buddy, because I know we would be doing Terrificon this weekend.
Just put the salt in my wounds a little bit more. Thanks. I didn't hear about that all day today from Ordway. I went to. That's why I was late.
You too on Twitter. So wait a minute, man.
No, everybody was telling me, your show was supposed to be this weekend. I'm like, no shit, ass. So I went out with Ordway.
Your show was supposed to be this weekend?
It was this weekend, yeah. And lovely Susan Eisenberg, Wonder Woman, wrote me a beautiful letter last night saying, we're doing this mainframe con this weekend. Nothing I can do about it. It's what it is. She's like, the whole cast of the Justice League will be there, but we're all thinking of you because this was supposed to be at your show. And I go, I know. And she's like, we're all there in spirit. I'm like,
and as much as it's going to be fun this weekend with mainframe, it's not the same as doing it live. No. And I'm sure that when shows are normal again, we'll get the band together. We'll do it again. Don't worry about it, honestly. But I was going to say what made me happy with talking to Wade was I was telling him about the Superman writers panel, mentioning Jerry. Yes. And I'm like, I've got 50 years of Superman writers. And as soon as I said Elliot's name and Kupperberg, Wade, it was like, oh, that's great. And I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, I thought about it. And I'm like, I knew I could get them, all four of them, and getting Jurgens and Jerry as well. And I'm like, that's good. That's 50 years of Superman writers. That's pretty cool. So
it scared me when you mentioned Stanley and Danny Fingeroff.
There you go.
There he is right there. The man who talks about everything Stanley, Danny Fingeroff. Buy it, kids. It's available right now. Tomorrow's press.
He's the expert when it comes to Stan.
He's the all things Stan. Anyway, so Lower Decks next week, 3:00 in the morning. John, do you get up that early just to watch that?
I'll tell you, I will. Again, my sleep is all over the place ever since COVID, and even before that, working overnights. But this morning, no, I watched it at either 7 or 8 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, that's when I did it.
And I was like, I saw. Well, like when I texted you guys, I think it was around 7 my time. Right. That I'm like, all right, I watched it. It was okay.
Well, I'm just saying, is comedy funny at 7 in the morning?
Comedy's funny anytime you watch it.
It doesn't matter to me. I'm serious about that because you watch things late at night, you're a little tired, a little loopy, a little bit. So things seem funnier, like things seem scarier at night if you watch a zombie movie at night. So it will be. I don't know what that's about. All right.
Well, I watch. I mean, honestly, like as comfort food, I'll go to old Andy Griffiths and stuff in the early morning or Green Acres, and I'm laughing my ass off. So I don't think. I mean, I hear what you're saying. But for me, no, I can handle good comedy 24 hours a day.
Are you watching Lower Decks with a critical eye? Are you like this going, okay, I'm analyzing everything instead of just watching it for humor?
No, I think I'm
just having a good time.
I think I'm turning it on and experiencing it. I don't think I don't intend to watch it with a critical eye. But then as it's going, and I'm like, even the thing with the energy being the first thing, I'm like, okay, that was funny. Although it was, hey, let me have your heart's desire. I want one of those tricorders with a purple stripe. I'm like,
yeah, but the energy thing had to poop it out, so it was
no. Fun. And I realized that. And the funniest thing was that when it pooped out the batteries, batteries. And I like that it got smaller. That was funny.
I think their next animated show should be a total Trek parody, but a mashup. Could you imagine Andy Griffith in charge of one of these ships? Like okay now.
Well,
Barn, turn on the track.
Barn, the Klingons are gonna disagree. Ange, I'll tell you what, Ange, I got my bullet ready.
I told John that there was other characters that used to be on Next Generation that I was always curious to see more of, like the barber. Remember
Mr.
Picard
Bart.
went to a barber shop? I'm like, why is there a bald guy going to a barber shop or whatever? But it was that chubby blue guy with I think he had a thing in his, like a fin or something. I'm like, where are those guys? Like just have those odd characters.
But I think that's the idea of that's what Lower Decks is.
Well, I hope to see those guys, and the little guy that was on last week with the breathing thing in front of his face. It had like a little, I don't know what you call it, like a little mister or something there. I was thinking that could be a whole episode too. Comedy is funny at any time.
See, I agree.
Obviously, they haven't been listening to us because I watched it at 6:20.
Yeah. So
for the audio people at home, we're mumbling someone's last will and testament because they can't see what the hell's going on.
No, Blaine and I discuss these things directly sometimes, and we call them Canadian Yoko chips, which is meant as a compliment. That, Blaine.
If they did an all-out comedy Klingon episode, would you be rolling on the floor? If the whole show was done in Klingon,
well, they did all-out Ferengi comedy episodes, and they were funny.
No, I'm saying if the show's all in Klingon and you had to read subtitles, would you be like, I'm not watching that?
I mean, no, I'd watch it.
If it's funny, yeah,
I'd watch it.
I mean, if that's what they were going for, but still, yeah.
No, and again, I think Trek is capable of comedy and good comedy, and I think they've actually done it a few times.
I am not a merry man. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, all those Ferengi episodes, I think, are hilarious.
But again, that line right there, I am not a merry man. I am not a merry. That's because you know who Worf is.
Right.
And I'm telling you that you have to get to know these characters a little bit before I decide if this whole thing is really funny or not. I'm telling you, I like the first couple episodes. I like where they're going. I have to see like 5-10 episodes, and then we'll see where the funny is then. That's all I'm saying.
There he goes. Mott the Balorian was the race of the capable
Bolian. Yeah, the Slacker girl, when she saw the Ferengi, she's like, I think it's a Bolian. And of course, the other guy's like, no, it's not a Bolian. But,
I actually want to see more of the security guy with the Bajoran guy.
The only thing I don't want to see is he apparently, like, his big thing is anytime they're in a crisis, he wants to eject the warp core.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, But no, he was funny. He was funny in episode 2. And yeah, he's a Bajoran.
And Jerry O'Connell is the voice of the first officer?
Commander, the commander with the beard, the first officer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to put names to people. I'm like, is there anybody really quote unquote famous visually on that show besides Jerry?
And isn't he still married to Rebecca Romaine, who's number one on
It's all connected.
It's connected.
Yep.
It's connected.
It's all true. Klingon comedy would be extremely difficult because every Klingon is the stray man in the comedy team. I don't know.
I can make it work.
It's a good story. Worf is always great when they play poker.
Yeah.
How many cards? Worf? 4. And everyone's like, he's like, whoa, what's the problem? I love the fact that Worf sucked at poker, but because he's a warrior, he would never give, like, it's a challenge for him to play poker. And that's why he keeps coming back for punishment. Fool. Good stuff. Did you ever see in Trekkies, the documentary, the comedian Rick Overton does Klingon stand-up? Thank you.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, he's like, he was at the ice house, and he's like, people are applauding. He's like, thank you. Since I have been here at the ice house. And he's, do you remember when you were a child and you had to go through the sacred temptation of Doctor, whatever he's saying.
That's funny right there. I don't know why, but I'm laughing at that.
Well, dude, as I said last week, I'm like, there are decades of good Star Trek humor.
Yeah.
That weren't from the show, that other people were making fun of Star Trek, and it was funny.
I wish George Takei would come on the show and write a couple scenes.
There you go.
I used to listen to him on the Stern show, and he was hysterical. I'm like, look, that's a guy who's there on the front lines. He could tell you, imagine if Sulu ran the ship, and this would happen. And you'd be like, oh, I'll watch that. Here's the money now. I'll do it right now,
Oh, that's funny. Art and Franco need the green light on a little Star Trek miniseries.
There you go.
Well, Blaine, they did do Little Battlestar Galactica, which was hilarious.
Thank you.
Very, very funny. The security guy reminds me of Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown showing up.
I know he'll be there at that Mainframe Comic-Con.
Yeah, they when Dynamite approached us about doing a series for them, like they threw out a whole bunch of titles. Well, how about this? And I'm like, no, not interested. How about this? No, not interested. And then they said Battlestar Galactica. I'm like, ooh. But then Art's like, no, not interested. I'm like, yeah, no, we're interested. So we're doing that one.
It was good. Blaine says he owns a little Battlestar. Very nice.
There you go. It's one.
No, very funny issue. I absolutely enjoyed it as well. Yes. All right, we should go. We've been chatting for an hour. We're on
our show. Yeah.
So episode 3 next week. Hopefully it'll be better. Hopefully Mitch and I will like it better. And Mitch will be joining us once again from his ready room here on the bridge.
I have the old Enterprise one too that I got to put up.
Oh, you flip it for next week.
Just get ready that if you guys like it next week, I'll hate it. But just get ready for that.
Oh, it's like a parallel universe type of thing.
And if you didn't know, watching from our perspective, the camera looking at Mitch over his left shoulder is the way to where the bathroom is on the Next Generation bridge. Yes. You are pointing correctly, sir.
I did not know that.
I
thought it was in the front where the view screen was on the sides.
I'm like Worf's dad. I have all the schematics at home. I love when Worf's human father is like, I have all the schematics at home as far as
the exits are here and here.
If for whatever reason during the flight we lose cabin pressure, a mask will drop down from above.
Exits are above and
pull it tight.
Drop a deuce in the back, sir. Granted, Mr. Wolf. Light a match when you're done.
Number 1, I need to go number 2. Yeah,
exactly.
Wow. See how quickly the humor devolves into bathroom talk.
Well,
I hope it's good next week. I don't sit down and watch something and say I fucking hate it because it's expected.
Say it again.
He hates
I said I hope it's good next week. I don't sit down in front of my TV set to go, oh, I want to waste an hour of my life and hate something.
And speaking of bathroom jokes, they made one on Lower Decks this week when she said, "I got to blood pee all this blood wine."
They made another one because when the drunk Klingon was on there and he took off with the ship, they said, "Oh, he pooped on his sword" or something like that.
That's right. Yes. Yep.
I caught that.
I was gonna say I didn't. I'll have to go back and watch it. Just
see watchability. I told you they were gonna do
grow
that.
On us. I'm telling you exactly. We'll see. All right.
I'll see you
until next time. Thank you very much, everyone. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you next time. And we'll have a new card up. But until then, stay safe.